Hey, my YouTubers. Just want to do a quick rant before I go to the range today. It's Saturday, and we plan on going. But before I do, I had a friend of mine that stopped by earlier, and we were talking, and she said that somebody had actually called her in a grocery store and told her that she ought to be ashamed of herself for wearing her gun out in public like that. Boy, that has just set fire up in me. I couldn't believe that somebody would actually have the balls to actually tell her such a thing. And it wasn't a female. You would think that it would be a little old lady saying something like that, and you just nod your head and just, look at her and say, well, thank you, and just kind of walk off. No, it wasn't. It was a grown man. And if you don't have knowledge, I don't have a lot of knowledge about guns. I'm learning. And I love to hear everything about guns. I want to know, like I said earlier in some other videos, I want to learn everything there is about guns. And I am learning. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to learning about guns. I know just a little bit. I have knowledge of my guns that I use. I have two. I have my 380 and my 9mm, and I know everything there is to know about it. I've learned them, so they're my guns, and I know what they're about, just like the next person. Whatever gun you have, whatever you're carrying, whatever you have at home that you bought, it's yours. Just like my fiance guns, they're his. He knows all about those guns because he picked those guns out and he knows how to use them. But if you don't know about guns and stuff, you need to keep that thing between your nose and your chin shut, because it will just get you in so much trouble. I'm just glad that it wasn't me that they said that to. When I about 85% of the time, I carry my gun. I do a lot of stuff with the kids as far as going to their schools. My children take speech therapy. So I leave my gun at home because I'm scared that I'm going to forget it's on my hip. And if I take it in there with a bunch of kids, they're just going to flip out, especially at the schoolhouse. You can't have guns on, school property, period. So when I do have my gun, I put it under my seat or whatever, but I still have my holster on me. And when I get back in, I always, put it right back in my holster, going to do what I got to do. But anyway, I just want to do a quick rant. That just kind of set fire in me for somebody to actually walk up to a person. I mean, that's pretty brave. And they were in a grocery store and people were staring. And they weren't low about it. They had a deep voice about it, and people were, staring. She told him to mind his business, which I told her good. I'm glad that she did. She told him to mind his business. It was no concern of his that he needed to just keep on walking. And I don't know if I could have been that nice to him, but I can't. I do have another side to me where if, you don't get up in my business, if I walk into a store and I'm going grocery shopping, or I'm going to the store to get what I need, I'm not there to bother you or anybody else around you. If I've got my gun on my hip, it's none of your business. It's none of the next person's business. It's none of anybody's business. That's my business. And I live in the state of Virginia, which is an open carry state. So therefore, I can carry it anywhere I want to. And if there's not a sign on the door that says you cannot come in here, and I do look at the doors, and I do check the signs on the doors to make sure that it doesn't say you can't carry your gun, because I'm going to respect that. If it, it says that, I'm going to take my gun, put it right back in my vehicle, go on back, mind my business. But I just want to do a quick rant that I just couldn't believe that somebody had actually walked up to somebody and said you ought to be ashamed of carrying your gun in public. That's people that's non-knowledgeable about the Second Amendment, obviously, and non-knowledgeable about guns. Or they don't have a gun, can't afford a gun, maybe had a bad gun incident. I try to think of all these things before, I point my finger at people and get too mad. But it just, I don't know. I don't know why people do such stuff as that. But anyway, she handled it pretty well. She's a pretty good girl. So I'm just glad that she did. But I'm sure that's not the first time or the last time it's happened to her. I know I've never had anybody confront me about my gun before. The only thing I've ever had, which I'll tell you this really quick and then I'll get off of here. But I went into Walgreens down from my house one day to pick up some stuff. And the guy behind the register told me, he says, "Is that a real gun?" And I said, "Yeah, it's pretty real." And he said, "Oh my," he said, "Can I hold it?" And I looked at him and I said, "No, you can't hold it." I said, "First rule of being a gun owner, you don't let other people hold your guns. You don't let people touch your weapon." That is your weapon, and you are responsible for that weapon. And I gave him this big, long spiel, and people were standing in line, and I felt so bad, but I told him, I said, first thing you do is you never let nobody hold your gun. You're responsible for that gun. From the time you have it on to, from the time you put it on to the time you take it off, and wherever it's at, you're responsible. You don't never let nobody hold your gun. You don't let it's not a toy. It's not a play toy. He said, oh my, I need to get me one of those. And I said, do you know anything about guns? He said, no, I've never had a gun before. He says, I've never shot a gun before. And I'm like, well, then maybe that's some things you need to do, because I shot a gun before I was a gun owner, to make sure that I wasn't scared of it. But anyway, I just wanted to do a quick rant about what somebody had said, and that just FYI, that thing between your nose and your chin, it can get you in trouble, and people can get upset at you. And I don't think I'd be ballsy enough to walk up to somebody that's got a gun on their hip anyway and tell them anything, because it's none of my concern. So the best thing to do is just stay out of it. Anyway, just pass on the information. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.